Welcome to the College Corner, getting into the college basketball slate for Tuesday, coming off a Saturday performance, 3-2, started out 3-0, but closed out with 2 losers. So a good day overall, though. Kentucky was the big bet, cashed with ease. Got 3 plays for you guys here, some in some smaller conferences. So might not watch them, but I do think you should bet them and they can make you some money. If you're looking for more plays, go to the link in the description to my Twitter. I have more on Tuesday. I have plenty of bets for Monday. And we're also doing Twitter Spaces on there at 5 p.m. Eastern time, talking about the entire slate where people can come in with their own plays and share them as well. So again, follow me there on Twitter. Let's jump into my 3 favorite plays for Tuesday. All right, first up, we head to the A10, Davidson, Dayton. I like the under here. It's 133.5. This Dayton team is trying to get to keep pace in the A10 and claim that regular season title or a share of it. There's only a couple games left in the season. These 2 teams played not too long, or a decent time ago, and the total finished at 131 points. So right around this number here, did go under it by a little bit. What I think we'll see in this game is both defenses thrive, and especially the Flyers and Dayton's defense. So both these teams are high volume 3-point shooting. They take a ton of threes, more than 40% of their shots, and Davidson also relies on getting to the free throw line as well to get their points too. Dayton has been terrific defensively across the board, but very good in these 2 areas more specifically. Their opponents are shooting just 30.8% from 3, and they're also a top 4 defense when it comes to keeping opponents off the free throw line. So Davidson kind of plays into the true core strengths of this Dayton defense. And now what you're going to see as well for these teams, I mentioned Dayton's 3-point shooting. Davidson's actually a pretty good 3-point defense as well. Dayton's 3-point shooting in their offense or on their defense, they're seeing their opponents taking about 32 or making about 32.5% of their shots, and they're giving up a lot of 3-point shots. So this is what you're going to see play into Davidson's strength defensively, because they've been very good defending there. So you should see both these teams be pretty inefficient in this game, maybe even a little bit more than they were in the game they played previously. And as well, when you look at a total this low, paying attention to the pace is going to be important. I know it's a pretty low number, and that's because these 2 teams are both outside the top 300 in adjusted tempo, so they're both very slow. Dayton offensively is actually one of the slowest teams in the entire country, and both these teams as well, not very strong on the offensive glass. They're both outside of the top 230 in offensive rebounding, so when these teams do miss their shots, they're not going to grab those second chance points. That's going to give us some better opportunities for these play clocks to run out as well. So I think the total should be in the 120s, honestly, with this matchup. Getting it at 133.5, I think, is a good price for me to take the under on. Next up, we go to George Washington and UMass. I really like George Washington. This is my favorite play today at plus 7.5. They're at home against UMass. They're on a 10-game losing streak. Definitely a team that's been struggling, but that first loss of this 10-game losing streak actually came to UMass as well. Lost by 14 on the road. Now they find themselves as a shorter underdog to what that loss was previously at just 7.5 points being at home in this game. When I look at the box score from that game, I mean, George Washington was absolutely terrible offensively. They shot just 35% from 3 in the game, and UMass was very, very efficient. They shot 66% from 2. They were super efficient when attacking the interior. I don't think you're going to see that in this game, because I really like the matchup for George Washington getting the rematch here. So UMass is a team that wants to attack in the paint and score at the rim, getting to the free throw line as well. George Washington's a very good interior defense. They actually ranked 88th in 2-point defense, 48.3% their opponents are shooting, so well below the 66% UMass shot in that previous game. So I think you're going to see an improvement here defensively. And then as well, George Washington, a top 11 defense when it comes to keeping opponents off the line. So their defense, typically, if you get the rematch here, I see this being playing closer to what George Washington has been all season, which has been strong in these 2 areas defensively. And then offensively for George Washington, high volume 3-point shooting team, 41% of their shots are coming from 3, top 80 in the country. And UMass has really struggled defending from 3. I mentioned that George Washington shot so poorly in that game against UMass. They shot like 26% from 3. Don't expect that here, because UMass's opponents are shooting 34.9%. Again, very much struggling 3-point defense-wise, and they're giving up a high volume of shots from 3 too. So opponents are getting a lot of threes off from open looks and efficiently making them here because of those opportunities. Not to mention, George Washington also gets to the line a good amount. Over 20% of their points are coming at the free throw line, and UMass ranks 312th when it comes to keeping opponents off the line. The biggest issue in this game for me is rebounding. That's where George Washington doesn't find themselves as strongly. If they're making their shots at a higher rate in this game than they were in the previous matchup, that should be less of a problem. So really like George Washington. This is a 3-unit play for me and my favorite on the day. And finally, going to the biggest game of the evening, BYU and Kansas. I like the over 153, but I also don't mind BYU in this game. I'm not going to play this right now. I'm recording this on Friday evening. Maybe I get to it eventually, Monday evening I'm recording this. Maybe I eventually put this on the card on Tuesday. Again, drop me a follow on Twitter there. But I do see a point here where Kevin McCullough, who missed their last game, that second game with him out, potentially you could see this team fall off a little bit defensively where they were so good against Texas the other night. The reason I like the over, these two teams play at a pretty fast pace. They're both top 60 in the country in average possession length offensively, so they can really run the floor on offense. And yes, I know McCullough's out, so that's kept into my handicap here. I still think Kansas can score points without McCullough. Played great defensively without him, like I mentioned, but this is a BYU team that has plenty more scorers and spreads the ball out a lot more than Texas does. Kansas took away Max Asmus and they just could not knock down any shots without him. You're not going to be looking at a team to just kind of take away that one guard and not get killed by some other guys. And you will with this BYU team. They're taking over 50% of their shots from three, a top 4 rate in the country. And you're going to expect that type of rate, if not more, against Kansas, because Kansas does a good job pushing teams away from the rim and away from the interior. They're a top 10 2-point defense and giving up a ton of 3-point attempts. So BYU has a chance to knock those down because Kansas's opponents are shooting much better from three than, in comparison to the rest of the country than they are from two, where they're at that top 10 2-point defense. They're like outside the top 140 in 3-point defense. Their opponents are shooting over 33%. You've got Trevin Knell, you've got Dallin Hall, you've got Jackson Robinson. There are a lot of knockdown shooters on this BYU offense, and I think they can take advantage of some of these opportunities they're going to get in this game from the perimeter. And then for BYU defensively, I think their defense plays into Kansas' strengths as well. So BYU's a top 40 3-point defense, very, very good defending there, pushing their opponents off the line, and their opponents are taking a low amount of 3-point attempts because of how good they've been defending from three. From two, not quite the case. BYU's opponents are getting 54% of their points from two. That's a top 60 rate in the country, and they rank 146th in 2-point defense. So their opponents are shooting close to 50%. High volume of shots they're getting up from two. They're making them at a higher rate. And I think you're looking at guys like Hunter Dickinson and KJ Adams. I think they take advantage. I think you're going to see this game played in the 160s as opposed to the 150s. Again, you can get this thing at over 153. I really like it here in this massive Big 12 matchup. All right, those are my 3 favorite plays for Tuesday in college basketball. Again, if you guys are looking for more, drop me a follow on Twitter. That link will be down below. If you enjoyed today's video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel as well. We'll have plenty more college basketball content coming to you all the way through the NCAA tournament. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.